Welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast, a show committed to bringing you insights from thought leaders shaping the real estate industry. In each episode, we'll dive into conversations with industry experts and local insiders, all aimed at helping you thrive in an ever-changing real estate market, continuing the legacy that Bruce Norris created, sharing valuable knowledge, and empowering you on your real estate journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a newcomer, this is your go-to source for insider tips, market trends, and success strategies. Here's your host, Craig Evans. The Norris Group proudly presents I Survived Real Estate. Industry experts discuss evolving industry trends, real estate bubbles, inflation, and opportunities emerging for real estate professionals. We want to thank our platinum partners, UDirect IRA Services, San Diego Creative Investors Association, White Feather Investments, MVT Productions, Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club,
DBL Capital, Douglas Brook Homes,
and Realty 411 Magazine. See isurvivedrealestate.com for event details, information on all our generous sponsors, and to connect with our speakers.
In today's social media, everything is, Mark and I were talking about this a little bit last night, everything is the best of everything, right? We only see how pretty you are when you wake up in the morning. We only see how great your kids are, not the fact that they spit up and threw up and everything that happened in real life, right? I want to ask a hard question. Each and every one of us sitting on this stage, and I can guarantee you each and every one in this room has had it happen, but nobody wants to admit it because it's the shame of what we think is only happening to us. What's your biggest failure in investing and in real estate? But the reality is you guys are all here because you've succeeded. So more importantly, what was it? But then how did you overcome that?
I'll go first. You guys didn't want to take that one, apparently. I'd say, you asked for my biggest failure in real estate, but like I've lost money, I've made money, I've had good deals, I've had bad deals, I've made the wrong decision, I made the right decision. I'd say the worst thing that I ever did was when I started this business. This might be a little tough, but when I started this business, I looked at my wife. My wife's over here, Lucy. Hey, Lucy. And I said I was a full-time Navy pilot, and I heard this podcast of this guy who's flipping 100 houses. His name was Justin Williams. A lot of you guys probably know who he is in the room. And he said he's making like $1 million a year. And he's selling this program for $25,000. And I was like, you know what? I need to make $1 million a year. That sounds awesome. And I looked at my wife and I said, hey, I want to do this thing. It's a much longer story than that. And I said, I'm not going to be around a lot. I was flying 10 or 12 hours a day every day for the military, strapped to a G suit on, strapped to an ejection seat, and wearing an oxygen mask, doing aerobatics, students trying to kill me every day. And 1 weekend a month. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not going to be around that much this first year, but I'm going to build a business that will take care of us for the rest of our lives, and I'm confident I'll do that. We had a baby. He's about 6 months old at the time. His name's Will, our firstborn, and I did that. In a year, I did that. We built a business. We did 67 houses in the first year, made about $700,000. I netted about $450,000, $500,000 that year just in real estate. And then what I did was I didn't renew the contract with my wife. I thought that contract auto-renewed every year like your lease. It doesn't. And so for the next few years, I just continued to build and build and build. And then in 2019, I bought 7-Figure Flipping from Justin Williams, and I asked her if it was okay, and she kind of said yes, but she didn't really say yes, I think. And this just kept happening, and I just kept building and building and building. And in 2020, our relationship really fell apart, to the point where there was a lot of other stuff going on, but we really distanced ourselves from each other to where we were almost like roommates. And she asked me for a divorce. And we fought through that. We got to the lowest of the low and came back stronger than ever. But the biggest mistake that I made in my life was not like talking about that contract and sitting down with her and saying, are you still with me? Is it still okay if I do this? I became addicted to the business. That was the thing that fueled me. Tony Robbins' human needs. It was the business. It was this. It was being on stage. It was that kind of stuff. And I would say the biggest mistake that I made is she's not involved in the business, but she's got a lot of say in what I do. And I would say, I challenge all of you to talk about that contract on a regular basis, whether it's every 90 days, every 6 months. But I thought it auto-renewed for a long time. So now when I just took a big high-profile job with somebody, and I sat her down and like really wanted to talk to her and see how she felt about it, because I told her all the things that I want to do, and that's my biggest failure, was just thinking that contract auto-renewed.
Testing. Does anyone here know predictive index? Yep. Familiar? So captains and mavericks are these hard-charging CEO entrepreneurial types that are just going to run through brick walls and literally work 100 hours a week so that they don't have to go work 40 hours for somebody else. So, yeah, I sense from the giggling that there's some in the room, right? So we call those visionaries. And there's a book called Rocket Fuel. And Rocket Fuel, one of the first lines is, if you're reading this and you're a visionary, that's the problem. So the biggest failure I think I've had in my business is letting my ego get the better of me and trying to scale. Okay, you meet people that are doing more deals than you. You want to scale and do more deals. Scale, scale, scale. It's a really terrible word if you don't have systems and accountability and process, all those icky things that I don't do well at all. But you can't scale a business without operational excellence. And so the big revelation, I had my low point in 2017. Luckily, was surrounding myself with a mastermind community that kind of put their arms around me and said, dude, you can't do this on your own. You need an integrator, which I hadn't heard that term before. But a visionary and an integrator create Rocket Fuel and take you to the next level. And I was thankful where I was able to onboard a COO who has come and transformed our business into a highly efficient and operational business that now can relieve the burden off of my shoulders. We scaled into different markets. We failed because we didn't have good systems and processes in place. So slowing down and thinking a little bit more about how you can do it and looking internally, I think. Any business rises and falls to the level of the leadership at the top. And probably similar to Bill's story, you have to look in the mirror and say, if the business is failing, it's on me. And so understanding my strengths and weaknesses, you then go hire for the weaknesses. You don't have to change who you are as a person. In fact, if you try and do that, that's what causes stress, amongst your relationships. So when you know thyself, you find knowledge. When you accept yourself, you find wisdom. And the acceptance of who you are, the acknowledgement of your weaknesses, and finding someone that can complement you is where you can find true rocket fuel and take your business to the next level. So I think that was it for me.
You want me to go?
Have you had any mistakes in your career?
It starts with charts.
I'll tell what this is a true story, and it's very short. I was going to tell the one you probably thinking about, but okay. We were building houses. I'm barely 30, building houses in Palm Springs, and the builder calls me up and said, "There's another lot next door. You want to buy it?" So I said, "Sure." So I sent in whatever it was, $9,000, and started building that. And about 3 months later, I get a call talking to the builder. He said, "Oh, we just had an inspection. It was kind of weird. The inspector said he could find 4 of the houses, but not the 5th one." I said, "Shouldn't we be concerned about that?" He said, "Well, I hadn't really thought about that." So I went out there, and guess what? The sign of the realtor was on the wrong lot. We were building on a lot we didn't own. So we were halfway done with the home, and we owned the lot next door, which is a bummer, right? So I'm pretty direct. I go straight to the owner of the lot, knock on the door, and I said, "Hi, I'm Bruce Norris, and I barely got that in my mouth, and the guy inside was the man of the house. He said, "Thanks for the house." And I was there to be honorable and stuff, but now, I also have this other side is, you're welcome to tick me off. I can handle that too. So I got a little ticked off. I said, okay, we'll handle it a different way. So I walked back to my car, and his kid came out, and his kid was like 22. I thought he wanted to fight, and I was ready to accommodate that. So he said, no. He said, my dad is in there scared to death. I said, well, why didn't he talk to me? He says, he got a lawyer. I said, okay. So give me the lawyer's card. So I called the lawyer, and I went into his office in Palm Springs, and I was there for like an hour waiting. The guy came in. He said, have a seat. I said, I don't need to sit down. This is going to be a very brief meeting. I said, your guy has two choices. I will buy the lot that he has left, or, that we're building on, or exchange the lots that I have for 10 grand, and that's the two choices. I said, I don't need to sit down. Call me at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tell me what you're going to do. So he calls me up. He says, we'll take 20 grand. I said, that wasn't one of the two choices. And so he puts me on hold, and he says, okay, we'll take 10 grand. So that was the quick exit of a problem where you build half a house on a lot you don't own. That was much shorter than some of the other ones I have, by the way. But
Oh my God.
did you even know that?
No, I did not know that. And as a builder, that scares the hell out of me. Oh my God.
Well, one other part of it, we also, because it was the realtor's fault that had the sign on the wrong lot, as a preemptive, I listed the property with her, having her state on camera that was the lot that she sold us. Okay, just wanted a backup plan.
So we're starting to wind this up. So I want to ask one more question to everybody on the panel here, and I think a lot of times, when I'm talking to investors, they look at one thing. They look at the house, right? They look at the money. They look at the house. They look at the money. They look at the house. They look at the money. They look at the house. I want to turn $25,000 and make $1 million, right? That's the golden spoon, so to speak, right? That everybody sees it out there, the golden egg. How important do you believe leadership qualities are in real estate investing?
Well, I don't think real estate investing is any different than any other business, and it is everything. How you treat your staff.
Let me interrupt you there. Yeah. Regardless of scale. Because remember, we've got people here that are, like I talked with a gentleman tonight, so excited. He started in January, right? He's done just a few deals. So I want us to think back, and I want us to look at this from the perspective of, regardless of where you're at in your career of real estate, how important is understanding leadership principles, even within yourself?
Yeah, so even as a solopreneur, I think it starts with integrity and a set of core values that still ingrains with our big team, but that started with when I started on my own. I mean, I was a guy, knocking on people's doors and helping them out of difficult home ownership situations. But the people that I have seen fail in this industry are those that don't stand on firm ground and try and truly help people. You can't, those that brag about making $25,000 because they didn't know the value of their asset, or they make $100,000 wholesaling a house and took advantage of a grandma. I mean, that is an untenable business model. So you have to have integrity. You have to have core values of what you stand for, and then make sure you hire and fire based on those core values, principles, and I think that is the core of leadership, is trying to grow people up with integrity that can serve communities. I mean, as investors, we can sometimes get a bad name, right? Especially with the wholesalers that are showing themselves flipping off Hyundais on the top of a Porsche or something. It's like, it's just not who we want to be. But wholesaling, it's why it's under attack, I mean, it could well be illegal to wholesale without a license here, coming in through all these states. So I welcome that, because, we have no fear of that. Being licensed, doing the right thing, truly trying to solve difficult home ownership situations is at the core of what all of us can do. And yeah, it starts at the top for sure.
I spent 20 years in the military, and leadership in the military doesn't just start with the commanding officer or the top. It starts everywhere. It's all we do. It's all we talk about. And what I've noticed, I've coached a lot of people in real estate, but it really is just business and life. Like, what most people don't understand is they're a leader somewhere in their life, whether it's in their community, it's in their family, it's in their upbringing on their sports team when they were younger. And it's 100% a skill that you can learn. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that was taught to you, that you emulate, it's a mirror. So Mark mentioned core values. Mine are extreme ownership, stewardship, hard work, integrity, and personal and professional development. I know my core values. My team knows my core values because we talk about them all the time. But that first one, extreme ownership, had to be added after I read the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leif. And it has some of the best leadership principles I've ever heard inside that book. But there's one part that I really love. They talk about leading up the chain of command, which nobody talks about. Most of it is lead from the top. They talk about leading up the chain of command. When the people that are on the battlefield have to lead back, and if you're a brand new person, there's title companies, there's realtors, there's sellers, there's money lenders. There's hundreds of people that are involved in what we do in one house. Hundreds of people are affected by one house. Scale that to hundreds of houses and thousands of houses that a lot of us have done. Like, these leadership principles have to be there. Nobody's going to follow you if you're not a leader. Nobody's going to jump on your train. That first hire, my first hire, I got an ad on Craigslist in 2015. We met in Denny's on my way to work, and she was a podorthist. I'm not pronouncing that wrong. She wasn't a podiatrist. She sold insoles and shoes, and she had a full-time job. Her husband made $45,000. She had a new baby at home, and she worked full-time. I had never done a deal. And I was having trouble. I've been spending money for 3.5 months, and I wasn't doing deals. I needed a salesperson. She said she's the best salesperson on the planet, and the only reason she quit her job to come with me is because I cast a vision so big that she could see herself fitting under it. And I can tell you right now, if you can't cast that vision, nobody's going to get on your train. Leadership is the X factor. It's the only thing. If you could study one thing to be a great business person, make money, it's leadership. That's all that matters.
Okay, I'm going to tell a story. This experience early on in my career changed how I looked at the customer across the table, and it was a really big gift. I worked for a company for 3 months that I didn't enjoy. He treated people awful. I was only there for 3 months. I was the #1 buyer at the company. That was the first 3 months I was in the business, but I couldn't stand how he treated people, so I left and went on my own. So about a month into it, I'm sitting across the table from somebody that's going to sell me a property. It was in Garden Grove, California. And I said, "This is what I pay for your property." And a very monotone statement comes back, that's fine. And I need to have a 30-day escrow. That's fine. I need you to do a little bit of work on the property. That's fine. And there was something about the tone of his voice that bothered me. That, like, the hair on your neck actually just told you something's really wrong here. I said, "You know what? I don't want to talk to you about your house anymore. Are you okay?" And he looked at me really surprised. He says, "No, I'm not." And it just so happened I had 10 books in my car, went to a seminar by Og Mandino, and he wrote a book, The Greatest Miracle in the World. I bought the book. I bought 10 of them, give them away, so this is the first one I gave away. I said, "I don't want to talk to you about your house anymore." And by the way, that's not a technique. Obviously, I decided, something was seriously wrong here. I want you to read this book, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. If you don't read the book, read this one chapter, the God Memorandum. And in that chapter, God talks to you and says, "You might have forgot this, but you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let me tell you." And so I left him, come back the next morning, knocked on the door. And he opened the door and he said, "I want you to know that the book that you gave me saved my life. I was going to sell you my house and kill myself." And he said something else that was a gift for the rest of my career. He said, "I decided that I do want to sell my house because what I need is a fresh start. And it was a great gift because I went from, I got to steal somebody's house, or I could get to give them a new start. That was a great gift. So for the rest of my career, I look across the table and see, is a fresh start in order here? And sometimes they don't want that, but you know it's the best, and you can sell that because you have their best interest in heart. So that was the best experience in my career, and it happened in 30 days on my own.
It's hard to replace it's hard to replace a man like Bruce Norris. I hope I can be half the man that he is. So, listen, we've had a good time talking with the investors. We're going to take a little bit of a break. You guys don't need to listen to us all night. We're going to take a break, have some dessert. Feel free to walk around, talk, spend 25 minutes or so, and then we're going to get started back with the economic panel. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks, my friend.
We'd also like to thank our gold sponsors: Inland Valley Association of Realtors, Keystone CPA, NorCal RIA, NSD REI, Pasadena Phoebe, Property Radar, The Collective Genius,
Thompson Group, Aloya Roland, Coldwell Banker Town and Country.
See isurvivedrealestate.com for event details. For more information on hard money loans, trust deed investing, and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For more information on passive investing through the DBL Capital Real Estate Investment Fund, please visit dblcapital.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under the California DRE license 01219911, Florida Mortgage Lender license 1577, and NMLS license 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the hard money tab.